Hey Gloomers, welcome back to Nodehaven. My name is Mike, and today I'm going to be showing you the obstacles, difficult terrain, and traps that I 3D printed and painted for our in-person sessions. Now, I use a Creality Ender 3 Pro filament printer in order to get these objects printed, and I will say it took a little bit of time to get the printer dialed in to get relatively high quality results, and even then I had to use post-processing with some files to get some of the finer detail to really come out. And once the objects were printed, I use Army Painter paints and a wet palette. And probably the biggest tip that I learned was I use a magnifying glass headset that really allows me to see into some of the finer detail and get precise with my paintbrush. So with that, let's jump right in. Let's take a look at some of the prints that I have. So in this first set, I have a tree stump, a fallen log, a bush, and a nest. And right off the bat, I'll say the tree was by far my favorite part of this set. The tree, I actually used some Army Painter flock for the grass, and it's the same grass material that I used for some of the ground tiles that I use in the actual map hexes. So it blends really well into that, and I really love the colors that sort of come out in the ground. You can see there's some mushrooms that are growing on the stump, or on the base of the tree. There's some flowers that are in the grass, some rocks and sort of scattered around the base of it. Really happy with the way that came out. So in the second grouping, I have all of the boulders, the rock column, and the stalagmite. And these tend to be placed together in a lot of scenarios. They sort of fit themes for different caves. And when we use them, I wanted them to look like they were all part of the same cave. So I made sure to paint them together to make sure all the coloring and shading came out to look like each other. And really, this is just like a medium gray paint with a light gray dry brush to bring out some of the edges. And the third set I have is the treasure chest, the crystal, and the totem. These are some of my favorite prints. I was really happy with the way the treasure chests came out. I thought that the detail really worked itself out pretty well here, and I really like the sort of golden edges as well as even the handles that you could see on the sides of the chest. I think came out pretty well. The crystal was pretty light, powder blue color, and then I used mostly white with a little bit of blue in it for a dry brush to highlight the edges of the crystals. And then the totem I was really happy with. This took a lot of fine detail and a lot of cleanup as I made mistakes throughout the process, but I painted it with all these different colors. I saw somebody else had painted it very similar to this, and I actually went through and I painted each totem with a different color scheme, but all in the same style. The next set here includes the fountain, stairs, pillar, and wall. These were painted for the most part pretty similar to the way the boulders, rock column, and stalagmites were painted. But you will see that on the stairs you have sort of like a fire-looking effect on the torches. And, I just kind of layered the paints as they came up to blend them from, red, orange, and yellow. And then on the fountain, I painted the inside of the fountain blue, and I used the same Vallejo water texture paint that I used. I guess it's not really a paint, but they sell it, and I used it for my water tiles. And I used it for the inside of the fountain too, and it gives it a really good gloss, and it really makes it look like it's wet inside there when you're looking at it. In this next set, I have the bookcase, the shelves, and the cabinet. You'll probably notice that the shelves aren't fully painted yet. This is one of the last ones that I'm doing, and I haven't actually fully finished it. The cabinet is a lot like the treasure chest, but a little bit of a different color scheme. Instead of gold, I have black hardware. The bookcase, really happy with. This took a while to paint because there's so many different colors and fine detail, and you have to sort of reach the brush in to color the books without getting paint on the back of the bookshelf. So this took a lot of patience and a lot of cleanup. Really happy with the way it came out. And if you can see, the book on the top actually has writing in it, and I used a very fine micron pen in order to actually write with it. I didn't have to do that with acrylic paint. The next set here is sort of what you might see in a tavern or a bandit hideout. So you have the table, the barrel, and the crate. These were all painted pretty similar as well. They're really just a dark brown with a lighter brown dry brush. And then the barrel has some black painting for, around where the seams of the barrel are. This next set is the rubble, the altar, and the sarcophagus. The rubble, if you look closely, has some little bits of skeleton popping out from it. And then the altar, you know, I was actually surprised that the candles came out even as well as they did on a filament printer. Those are so small. That's one thing that would come out a lot better on a resin printer, but for the most part they held up pretty well. And you know, I obviously used some red paint to give it sort of a like a sacrificial blood splatter coming over the stairs there. In this next set we have the pressure plate, the thorns, and the dark pit. The pressure plate is just sort of kind of a bronze paint, and the thorns I sort of just mixed different shades of brown with a little bit of green. The dark pit, I actually used black 3.0 to paint the inside. If you've seen that, it's advertised as, you know, like one of the blackest blacks. And I will say it's probably not as black as you might expect it to be from some of the, you know, the promos that you might see online, but it is pretty black, and you know, it's probably the best thing I could do for a dark pit. And this is the last set, and this is the traps. So I have the bear trap. The little spikes on this did take a lot of filing to get all of those points to come out nice and clean. Then I have the spike trap. To be honest, really not happy with how the spikes came out, kind of like the candles we saw on the altar. And then the last is the poison trap. So I actually printed out a 3D print, which was sort of this bubbly green, but it looked liquid. It didn't really look like a poison trap, and I wanted it to look more gaseous. So I actually took some of the stuffing from inside, what you would put inside of a stuffed animal, and then spray painted it a green color, so that it would almost look like a gas that was coming off of this slime. And really happy with the way that came out. Now obviously that's a lot of components, and keeping them organized and easy to access when setting up the map is important. So I ordered these art bin organizers that stack very neatly, and the sections inside can be sized as needed for larger or smaller prints. Then I have a similar one for my floor hex tiles, and then I have one without the dividers for my walls and doors. And that'll do it. So if you've been thinking about getting into 3D printing, and you have any questions that I might be able to answer for you, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'm always more than happy to jump in and help where I can. If you like this video, please hit the like button and consider sharing it with the friends that you play with. And I'm getting into a pretty good rhythm now with the videos that I'm posting. I'm doing about one every 2 weeks. So if you want to be notified anytime I post new videos, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.